Subscribe and hit the bell icon and never miss another video.
Getting into the physicality of it, I don't like to make too big a deal of it because, I mean, that's kind of what your job is, right? And as an actor who idolizes the great Amitabh Bachchan, but to maintain that during the lockdown wasn't a lot of fun. It's very cumbersome. It has certain effects on your health.
Hi guys, this is Nawaz Kochra from team MissMalini and I am in conversation with the super amazing Abhishek Bachchan who has left us enthralled with a killer of a story of Bob Biswas. I must say I was watching the trailer and I was mind blown because the journey of Bob Biswas has been shown so brilliantly. You've gotten into the skin of the character so beautifully, and that is what I always love about you, that you are so true to your characters. Like I was reading where you said that you've gained weight for this character, and this is not the first time you've done it. You've done it for Guru, you've done it for Big Bull also. So I want to know that the journey for Bob Biswas has not just been a mental process but also a physical process. How has that been for you?
Well, thank you very much for that. The due credit is, I think, entirely to Dia, our very capable director, and Sujoy, who wrote it. Our job as actors becomes so much easier when the material does most of the work for you. And the good part about doing films like Bob Biswas is when you have such a well-written character and the material is so strong, it makes your life a lot easier. It's more about execution then, as opposed to creating. As far as, getting into the physicality of it, I don't like to make too big a deal of it because, I mean, that's kind of what your job is, right? I mean, if you're playing a character, you want to look the part, but more importantly, you should look the part. There is a vision that the writers and the director have for every character that they, envision, and it's your job to achieve that. For Bob, I was very clear that I didn't want to go down the whole prosthetics way for the weight gain. That's because I just feel somewhere it just looks fake. As great as the makeup artists are, we still haven't managed to recreate a belly or cheek fat which looks believable. It always looks like there's something stuck on. So we decided, and I spoke to Sujoy and Dia, and I said, look, can we have some more time to put on the weight? Thankfully, they were completely on board with that. And we, put on the weight, and that just helps your performance that much more. The beautiful thing about Bob is I really think he's a bundle of contradictions. And that makes it so exciting to play. You have somebody who's inherently so nice, so gentle, so kind. But his job is the complete opposite of that.
Right.
And how do you walk that balance? So when I realized that, that's when this character just became so interesting and so challenging. Challenging first because you have to write that in. Secondly, you have to execute it. How do you still convince people that somebody who's got these inherent qualities can also be so cold-blooded and heartless? That's a wonderful tightrope to walk. So I was very excited about that. And I remember in the middle of some of our extensive discussions that Dia, Sujoy and I had, the general consensus was, if by the end of the film, the audience is still in love with Bob and still empathize with him, then I think we've kind of achieved what we set out to achieve.
Everybody has been talking about the character, but one special comment has been from Mr. Bachchan. He's written on Twitter that I'm proud you are my son. How did it feel, when a comment like that came from him?
It's very overwhelming, not just as a son, but as an actor. And as an actor who idolizes the great Amitabh Bachchan, to get such kind words and almost a stamp of approval means the world to actors. I mean, he's the best in the business. And it's very overwhelming. It's also very nerve-wracking because that's just the trailer. So now you're nervous about the fact that I hope he feels the same way after the film. But it's wonderful. I mean, you almost feel like, okay, my job's done. Now you all handle the rest of it. I'm done.
You know, the journey with this film, like the entire team's journey with this film also, in a way, has been challenging because you all had shot the most part of it, and there was one part left before the lockdown happened. Like there was a shooting in Kolkata. So how did things change that time when, you know, probably the lockdown happened?
Well, yeah, we were I would say about 80% done with the film when, you know, the lockdown was announced. We had a huge set that was standing in Kolkata. And so yeah, it took us 10 months to get back onto set. When the government allowed films to start shooting again, we took the permissions and went back onto set, finished the film and came back. I think because it was the last thing everybody had shot before the lockdown, it was kind of easy to pick up the pieces. For me, the only difficult part was to try and maintain the weight.
Exactly.
That wasn't pleasant. I have to be very honest. You know, in enthusiasm and excitement, we put on the weight. I mean, I'd become almost 100, 105 kilos. And, you know, that's a good 15, 20 kilos more than I'm normally used to being. But to maintain that during the lockdown wasn't a lot of fun. It's very cumbersome. It has certain effects on your health. But I think you override all of that, keeping in mind the end product. And when people appreciate the trailer or hopefully the film, it makes it worth it. And that's, I mean, I think all people associated with film put their work ahead of anything else. But yes, I think the biggest challenge was just trying to keep that weight on. But as far as the work, the minute we came, the only difference was everybody was in a mask, apart from the actors. But apart from that, it was all back to business.
You know, I was reading one of your interviews where you happened to mention that like every character leaves something with you, and Bob Biswas has left the weight with you. But you know, gaining weight is very easy as we speak, but losing that weight is very, very, very difficult. At the same time, you know, in the past, actors have, you know, usually told us that it is very easy. People teach you how to get into the skin of a character, but getting out of a character is a very different process. So what do usually you do to get out of a character?
I don't have a process. I just get into my car and go home.
Okay.
That act in itself has this wonderful ability to just flip a switch. And I think most actors will tell you that. It's a lot easier to switch off than it is to switch on. But having said that, I don't think in my personal experience that it's possible to completely switch off from what you're doing. There's always something that lingers, always. So yeah, I've never really had a process to switch out of a character. I think, you know, that's the only time you become truly professional about your job. You're not just thinking from a passion perspective. Is that, you know, you wrap the shoot's done, okay, get into the car, go home, and you just manage to switch off.
But I'm sure losing the weight must have been a challenging part.
Yes, it is. But thankfully, you know, we have wonderful people around to aid us with that, you know. So it was a mixture of getting a proper, you know, dietitian and nutritionist to give you the right food, start eating healthily again, clean, and obviously get into the gym. And too much science also is put into weight gain and weight loss. At the end of the day, it's input versus output. You know, if you want to put on weight, you've got to eat more than what you're burning, and if you want to lose weight, you've got to burn more than you're eating. It's as simple as that.
You know, when a project is releasing on an OTT space, the expectations are much higher because OTT is a space that is not just available or restricted to one particular country. Okay, everybody can view a project on an OTT space and it stays there forever. So, how do you see the OTT space? Because you've been on it, you've worked on it, Breathe Into the Shadows, also you've done on the OTT space. So, how do you see the space?
I love it. I'd like to believe I'm blooming and thriving over here. It's my third film that goes direct to OTT. I started with Ludo. Then there was The Big Bull earlier this year, and now, you know, Bob Biswas. And I had Breathe Into the Shadows last year as well. So apart from the overriding theme of predominantly most of them starting with B, I think it's been lucky for me. I've enjoyed it. I think there's a different kind of storytelling that's happening on digital platforms, and that is going to further get refined. I think right now we're still in the transitional phase between films that were made for theatre, like Bob Biswas, then having to come on a digital platform or an OTT space, as we call it. But I think it will further filter down. There's going to be very distinct content that is made, especially in terms of films, that come directly onto an OTT platform as opposed to films that go directly into theatres. And that is where I think we really lucked out, because I think Bob, as a film, is placed right in the middle of that spectrum. It was made and intended for theatrical release. Circumstances are what they are, and that's fine. But I think Bob is one of the few films that can fit into a theatrical space as well as the OTT space seamlessly. So Bob, I think we're very lucky because we're literally in the middle of that spectrum where either which way it's fine. I think the people that are patronizing OTT space and the kind of content they're watching, Bob Biswas is the film for them to watch, because it just seamlessly fits into that space. And the same with theaters. It's a really, really cool film, and I think everything about it, the approach Dia's, the kind of craft Dia has used to tell her story, I think it just fits perfectly. It's a perfect fit. So I understand actors are a bit reticent, or they're not entirely convinced about the digital space, because everything is dreamt of as 70mm spectacle. I'm actually very happy that Bob, the fact that it's releasing for starters, but I really do believe that the kind of people that are watching OTT content are going to love Bob Biswas.
Just a few days back, I was having an interview with Vivek Oberoi and Richa Chadha, where they happened to mention that when a Bollywood actor switches to the OTT space, a lot of people have this assumption that maybe kaam nahi mil raha hai, which is why they are moving on to the OTT space. What do you have to say?
No, I don't agree with that. I think digital streaming sites, because it's a very democratic platform.
Yes.
And when I say democratic, I mean the requirements out of actors in a movie that is going to release theatrically are far more than on an OTT space. The pros and cons of that are thus. In order to lure the audience to leave the safety of their home, commute to a theatre, purchase a ticket, purchase the concession, sit down in a crowded hall and watch a film for 3 hours, there's more than just, I'm a great actor. You have to be a great star. You have to convince people to leave their homes and come to the theatre. In the OTT space, the requirement is totally different. You just have to concentrate on being a really good actor. And if your content is solid, they'll watch it. In a movie hall, if I'm getting bored with a film, I can switch off for a while. I'll still sit in the theatre because I bought the tickets. On the OTT space, you don't have that liberty. If you bore them for, in my estimation, is more than 3 minutes, they're going to press that pause button and they'll never see you again. They're gone. It's that simple. There's no guilt associated with getting up from the seat, walking out, traveling back home. Because you're watching it on the palm of your hand or possibly on your television. And the options are millions, not even thousands. So you can, on the OTT space, it's all about your content. In cinema, it's about the experience of that content.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We all want to go to the theatres and we all want to watch Suryavanshi because we want to go whistle, clap.
It's for the feel.
It's the experience, and Rohit as a director understands that. So he makes his movies like that. That's why I say, Bob Biswas, when it comes in an OTT space, you want to watch the film. It's the content we're not promising you a film where you're going to come and you're going to clap and you're going to dance. It's not that. We're promising you you're going to come watch a really cool, kick-ass film and be riveted and not be able to push that pause button and get out of there. So the requirements are different. Because the requirements are different, it's more democratized in a sense because the whole world is seeing it. Today, people in India are watching, for example, Money Heist, Squid Game, Narcos, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Breathe, all on the same platform. And now they're going to watch Bob. At the same time, they could watch a movie from another country, from a different language. So suddenly the cultural and aesthetics of different film industries, those borders have disintegrated. So today, people that are watching Z5 have access to movies from all over the world. So that is, I mean, I don't like the word competition, but those are the films that are as an option for them to change to if they don't like your film, right? Keeping that in mind, it's a very exciting space because everybody is just really pushing the envelope. There's nobody sitting in their comfort zone. Because of that criteria, I don't think that there's this thought process also. I've been on OTT platforms for now, 2-3 years. I've never been confronted with, oh, you're doing this because you don't have work. I don't think that's the case. In fact, it's an exciting new medium to be a part of. It's the new cool kid on the block, that you all want to befriend in school. It's that. And it's not here to replace cinema. Nothing can replace cinema. Nothing ever will replace cinema, especially for Indians. For us, going to a movie theater is it's almost a religious experience. Everything about cinema is about submission. You submit your money to buy a ticket. You submit money to purchase your food. You sit in a dark theater where it doesn't matter who you're sitting next to, their caste, creed, religion, nothing. You look up to a screen in reverence and see larger than life characters do amazing heroic things.
Okay.
It's for me, it's like that. And that is not going to go anywhere. But the OTT space is going to coexist, and it's just going to be a different avenue through which very interesting content is going to be written and made. I feel to a certain extent, I mean, obviously there are situations in the film that arise, but I feel by and large, Bob is a very simple person.
Okay.
Emotionally simple. There are many simple people, and that's fine. But he's emotionally very simple. He's very basic in that. ये मेरी बीवी है, ये मेरा बेटा है, ये मेरी बेटी है, मैं इनसे प्यार करता हूँ, हम लोग खुश हैं. काफ़ी है उसके लिए. He doesn't allow a lot of complexities to come in. Life throws complexities of emotion towards him, and how he deals with it is part of what the film is about. But his first reaction is, it's a very basic, simple approach to his emotions. He's a kind, good-hearted, happy, nice guy. In today's day and age, I think the most difficult kind of person to be is like Bob. To be kind, good-hearted, simple. Because you have so many temptations, there's so many things that are thrown at you. But he still manages to maintain that. His first reaction to even an adverse situation is of kindness. So I'd like to take that from him.
Wow. Also, after the trailer has released, what has been the most honest feedback probably you've received, and from whom?
I can't think of one particular one. And I think that in itself is your answer, right? I mean, it's good. They've all been so wonderful that it's good that I'm not able to choose. And I'm just thinking that I'd probably be scared if I could tell you immediately which was the most, because that means there's so few that, So, yeah, I think we've been very lucky, But more than that, I think, okay, my favorite reaction to the trailer was mine.
Okay.
Yeah. And accept a certain discourse that's going on currently, and maybe that's a healthy discourse to have. But I've always been an actor who's put relationships ahead of professional gain. The fact that Dia was going to make her first film, Sujoy is an age-old friend of mine, and that's all he had to say, and I'd already said yes to the film before I heard the script. Yeah. And 50% of me when I saw the trailer was relieved, saying, okay, she lived up to it. 50% was just pride. I like that about our film industry, It's come under a lot of heat, and I'm guessing in certain circumstances, rightly so. But we must always introspect, we must always reflect upon ourselves and try and be the best version of us that we can. But there's this wonderful big family feel about the film industry, which I hope we never trade in for anything else. It is about the relationships, it is about the emotions. When I saw the trailer, I was so proud, I was literally jumping up and down. I mean, with Dia, I had to try and be as calm and composed, because when you meet her, she's a very, very shy girl. But with Sujoy, obviously, he's like a brother, and I was literally jumping, because I'm like, wow, she's made such a cool film, and somewhere you're like I said, I was relieved, because I was like, okay, I've done this on emotion, don't disappoint me, and she's lived up to that and some, and then she's made such a cool film. I was so excited. And that's very rare for an actor to be excited about their own work, because we're so critical.
Yeah.
rightly so. So I think my reaction would be my favorite.
And thank you for removing
Thank you.
time and having this conversation.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. Take care.